Hey guys, Brian Parsons here with the Parsons Real Estate Team, and I got a special guest for you today. I'm bringing in a good friend of mine, Sam Lamb, who is with State Farm Insurance. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk to Sam about insurance, especially with everything going on with the fire. So, Sam, welcome. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thank you so much for thinking of me and allowing me to be here today.
Man, I've thought about you the other day with all the fires, and I can't even imagine how
Yeah.
many phone calls you've been getting.
Yeah, I'm a very popular guy right now. It's all good though. I welcome the calls.
You don't want to be popular though, but unfortunately you are. Hey, so what kind of calls have you been getting? What are people's concerns, questions? Fill me in.
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one call that I'm receiving right now is, and it's a call that really shouldn't be happening like during a fire or if your home's in immediate danger, but it's like, Sam, do I have enough coverage? What does my policy do for me? Is there a wildfire exclusion in my policy? And with my insurance agency being directly coordinated with State Farm, right? What we do is we make sure that we review all of the coverages with our policyholder and explain all of those coverages, right? But the number one question really is, do I have enough coverage on my home if, God forbid, there's a large total loss or maybe even like just a partial loss?
Nice. So are people having enough coverage, and can you increase it last minute, or is that not even possible?
Yeah, so that I'm so glad you brought that up, because a lot of times what people have to be aware of is when we're experiencing these wildfires, and if those wildfires are getting closer and closer to certain areas, right? Insurance companies will actually put up a moratorium where they will not allow any new policies to go in force with certain zip codes, and they will not allow any type of coverage changes, right, during this moratorium period. So during this time, insurance companies will say, Mr. Policyholder, I'm very sorry, but we cannot increase your coverage at this time. Or, Mr. Policyholder, I'm sorry, we cannot lower your deductible at this time. We have to wait, make sure that these wildfires are extinguished, they stay extinguished, and at that time we can restart our conversation about making any necessary adjustments to your policy.
I mean, I guess that makes a lot of sense. So my question is I'm waking up in the morning, my lungs are hurting because the smoke's getting inside the house. Not that we have a lot of
Yeah.
smoke damage right now, but if that increases, does insurance cover even just smoke damage, or is it only total loss?
Yeah. So I can't speak for any other insurance companies, right? Because I'm strictly with State Farm, right? But it's really important to know that a lot of these coverages, okay, they have to be triggered by actual property damage. Okay. So for example, and this is really important because I've had policyholders that have had to go through mandatory evacuations. And during that mandatory evacuation, they're calling me and they're saying, Sam, is smoke damage on my policy? Is that a coverage? Is that covered? Right? What about our additional living expenses, like our loss of use? Who's paying for these hotel rooms, things like that, right? Every single claim is different, right? In order to actually find out if coverage is active, that there actually has to be a claim submitted, right? But I can give some recommendations, some guidance in the meantime, right? So a lot of times, like if you have a house that is completely filled with smoke, if windows were left open or or the wildfire came really close to it, right? There could be potential damage inside, which would actually trigger the smoke damage coverage because there's actually property damage. So a claim would have to be submitted. A company would have to come out and actually run a test to see if there were harmful levels of smoke inside the house. If there are harmful levels of smoke inside the house, then you can hire a company that will come in and completely scrub that house, everything. I mean, all of your personal contents, the entire structure, right? There will be air scrubbers that will be brought in. It is a very extensive process, but
Sounds like it's a good way to get your house cleaned. Get a deep clean done.
exactly. I mean, it is that the entire house is going to be detailed in the interior to make sure that there's no harmful levels of smoke in the house, because our number one concern is we got to make sure that you're going back to a healthy home, right? That's our number one concern. So I would be, if I'm a policyholder, every year I would be discussing these things with my agent, being like, in this potential scenario, how does my policy help me? Is it there for me when I actually need it, and review the coverages together?
So we are not in immediate danger, that I believe, to a fire, but makes me start thinking about earthquake insurance. And a lot of people are like, do I get earthquake insurance? Do I not get it? And obviously you've advised me, yes, Brian, you live in Southern California, you need earthquake insurance. So what kind of coverage should people have, considering earthquakes might be, another immediate danger for us, being in the area we live in?
Yeah, and so that's another great question, right? Because typically we're not worried about hurricanes, we're not worried about tornadoes, we're really worried about those earthquakes, right? And there's a very good chance, especially in your lifetime and in my lifetime, Brian, that we're going to experience an earthquake of 7.5 magnitude or greater, right? We've got to make sure that we are prepared for that day. And in order for us to prepare for that day, we got to make sure our policyholders have earthquake insurance. Now, I live close to you, and I've been under my house when a small 3.3 earthquake has happened, right? And my home is on a raised foundation. I could not believe how much my home shifted, moved, whatever you want to say. I could not believe how much it moved on a really small earthquake like that.
I would have loved to see how fast you got out of there.
Yeah. I mean, just it's my luck, right, that I'm actually under the house when a small earthquake happens, though. But everything worked out okay. But what I thought of was like, thank God I have that policy in place, because earthquake coverage today has gone through some significant enhancements over the year, and it does a lot more for our policyholders than policyholders are aware of. Also, it's become extremely more affordable over the years as well. So it's not just for policyholders that can afford it. A lot of times you're going to be able to find a policy that fits everyone's budget. Okay. But let's talk about what it actually does for you. Okay. So number one, the coverages, the building coverages have to mirror exactly what your coverage is on your homeowner's insurance policy. So that's why it's really important to make sure that you have the right amount of coverage on your homeowner's insurance policy, because that is going to affect what your coverage is on your earthquake insurance policy. Secondly, there's coverage for personal contents if personal contents are damaged, right? Also, there's also coverage for loss of use, the most important part of the policy, right? That can actually go up to $100,000. If you can't live in your house, Brian, because the earthquake has damaged it, it's not safe to live there, then you can actually have potentially a claim where you could file with your earthquake policy and get income to live off of to pay for those additional living expenses while you're living elsewhere. A lot of policyholders don't know that. And older policies might have a minimum of only like $1,000 of loss of use coverage. That needs to be adjusted. That can be increased up to $100,000 for very, very little premium. So something, again, right? That's something that we want to be reviewing with our insurance agents every single year. It's a simple call or an email saying, Sam, are there any enhancements that I should be making on my earthquake policy? Are there any enhancements that I should be making on my homeowner's insurance policy? Is this a policy that you feel comfortable that I should have, right? Is there anything that stands out to you? Maybe any gaps of coverage that we should talk about?
Well, Sam, I appreciate your time. I know you've helped my family and myself go through all this, because there's so many questions that come up, and you know it better than anybody I know. So if anyone has questions about fire, earthquake, whatever it is, I know you do cars and insurance, everything. What's the best way to reach you?
So they can call me directly at any time at the office at 626-500-1300. They can also find us at www.samlamminsurance.com. They can also email me at sam@samlamminsurance.com. Just remember Sam Lamb, the insurance guy. I know it's just, hey, it's what I've got to work with. So feel free to call or email anytime.
Hey, thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to reach me, 626-340-8050. Take care.